What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we're providing a state of the market and stock picks for December 7th, 2022. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, consider subscribing, as we do provide daily and weekly updates to get you prepared for the day and the week ahead in this glorious market. Now, we got some pretty heavy selling today, which is interesting. I know there was some news out of China, I believe, as far as potentially more lockdown restrictions over there. Uh, What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we're providing you a state of the market and stock picks for December 7th, 2022. So that sounds like something you're interested in. Consider subscribing, as we do provide daily and weekly updates to get you prepared for the day and the week ahead in this glorious market. Now, today was interesting. Now, I know there was some China news this morning, but essentially the Bank of America CEO came on and was pretty much saying how things are just going to be bad in the future. With that being said, that pretty much took down Bank of America and started to cause other banks to roll over. Something I kind of alluded to over the past couple of weeks, the parabolic move, that there was going to be some sort of a natural pullback. Today started to happen. Again, there wasn't really a lot of news. You can talk about what was going on in China that could have made it happen, but ultimately, we're really trying to set up for next week with a core and with monetary policy. So the market does sell off into that event as well. So you have to be mindful of that. With all that being said, again, it naturally looks like a normal move. The one thing to understand here, though, is that the market really didn't bounce on any support. You can say it was volume as well. There wasn't a lot of volume to hold that up. But what we're really concerned about here next week is that we broke, essentially could have broken this trend. So unless we wake up tomorrow and we are back over that 39.69, this could be concerning. Again, we don't really want to get back into this because that's just going to mean we're going to chop a lot going into next week. But if we do break down back below this, as you can see, there's a lot of lines here. So you got a lot of daily and weekly EMAs sitting right on this level. So to see this just butter through everything was kind of crazy to see. Again, tomorrow, if we open below, if we don't gap down below the essentially that 39.16, I think we could potentially start selling off going in preparation for next week. Now, a 50-point basis move is what we are expecting. Again, that really depends on what comes in with the core CPI. With that being said, we are starting to see again a lot of the effects of what these rate increases are doing. And considering that even though it's a 50-point basis move, it's still a rate increase, which is not good. And again, seeing how that is playing out across the consumer or with the consumer. So, being said, tomorrow again we have to see. To be honest, I really wasn't expecting a lot of sell-off, but the banks and the CEO, I think Bank of America CEO, kind of just helped push that a little bit today, and everybody's forecasting again some more bad news. Right, they got downgraded. JPM also, I think, got rid of also laid off more people as well today. So that did not help on top of everything. So if things are so good, why are they continuing to come out? Um, and again, last time the banks started doing this, it wasn't much longer after that. So, you got the bigger layoffs in Microsoft and Amazon and Tesla. So it's really interesting to see how these next couple months are going to play out. And something I talked about, the thesis that I had, I was thinking in spring it could play out a lot sooner. A lot of things have been happening a lot sooner than I thought they would. Um, Primarily understanding that this isn't something that is new; it's been playing on in the background. So, uh, again, right now you don't have a lot of volume, so it's interesting to watch that we are starting to sell already. Not saying that we can't pump. If everything comes in line next week, it could be enough to start pushing us back up, which wouldn't surprise me in this level. This is the volatility. This is the uncertainty in this market. Sell off just in case we come in at 75. But if we come in at a 50-point basis move, that could be seen as potentially good and potentially start rallying for Q4 earnings, and then getting into that essentially that Christmas rally that everybody talks about. But again, we have to see about the timing of everything's really going to matter at this point. So with that being said, again, it depends where we open tomorrow. We definitely want to get above essentially that 39.61. If we can't, going to be a major issue. But we'll have to see how that does play out. As far as the dollar is concerned, again, that dollar's floating around that it's actually broke back over the 105, which is interesting. But again, it needs to stay above that. Tomorrow needs to open above that if you're bearish, and it needs to open below that if you're bullish. So we did have a break and a retest. So we could be looking for a lower dollar, which in turn pumped the market back up. But again, there's a lot of really bad forecasting coming from banks and from all these big industry leaders. And so just be mindful of that. Now, it's not always played that way. A lot of them have done very well, even throughout the pandemic. So we just have to see how they do adjust. And now, even though Tesla came on the record and essentially said that they might have to cut production numbers, but it wasn't certain. And so again, Tesla did sell off a bit this morning, but it held and is continuing to hold. So we really have to see again how things play out. It's just there is a lot of uncertainty with what's currently going on. Bitcoin again holding strong. Not really much to say there. Tesla, like I said today, technical wise, a break, a retest, which is good to see. But again, like I said, any breakout that we've had has always just died back into the wedge, not actually broken out. So I want to see how this does. I think if as long as this can hold essentially that 180 going into earnings, I think that, again, this thing will have a nice little earnings run. So kind of watching for that. Apple, again, is another one I'm watching. They had, I think it was Developers Day or something along those lines today. They announced a bunch of products today as well. Or it could have been Investors Day. I'm not really sure, but nonetheless, normally sells off anyway, so not really expected there. But again, everything going on with China could affect this if some bad news is to drop. So I'm kind of really watching again that 135 on Apple, especially if they get some momentum to the downside. As long as it can hold 135, I'll try to look to get back into Apple and go from there. BA, it finally broke and starting to sell off. Again, it could be a break and a retest. Again, you don't want to. This is kind of what you want to see, but we didn't get any of that kind of retest here. It was just a parabolic move up. So if this does break below essentially the 168, this thing could tumble over and have a pretty steady drop down to the 147. So watching out for BA again, all depending on how we open. This is why I don't like the parabolic moves and then try to run away. JPM. Again, holding this line, we don't want JPM to break 129. If it does break 129, markets could be in trouble. The same with Apple. If Apple breaks even lower, markets could be in trouble. So we have to keep an eye on that. Goldman Sachs did gap fill. Hopefully this thing can continue to hold the 355. If it doesn't, I think you got a pretty big drop to the 227. Yes, there's a little bit of support here at the 340. But I think this thing is going to again come down as quick as it went up. So, and again, going into as you can see, Bank of America got that announcement today, and it's absolutely flushed and filled the gap. So again, we want this 31 to hold. If it doesn't hold 31, again, we're back to down to 29. So again, there's not really much new to report on a lot of these videos. It's insightful to see a lot more. It's finally good to see the banks start to roll over. You want that natural rollover, kind of set us up for next week. Again, it's not always going to be great, but understand that it's necessary for us to continue to make a stronger bull run, with also the understanding that you should have a thesis and kind of understand what's going on in the background, and that there's a lot of catalysts that could lead to some really catastrophic events that could cause us to sell off another 20% more. So just be mindful of that as well. But again, time will tell. Again, you're not going to know everything. It's good to look and kind of see how things are playing out. If they're getting worse or better, that kind of gives you an idea of what's going on. Again, the longer you're in the markets, the more you can kind of get that idea of where things are going. As of right now, I think as long as everything continues to play out with a 50-point basis move and inflation coming down a little bit. So next week, again, I think that could lead into a pretty solid Christmas rally shortly after, followed by a potential crisis. Again, natural dip in March, but it could be actually fueled by actual crisis, really just depending on what that consumer is and where we go from there. So with all that being said, I'm going to keep this video short since a lot of my videos have been pretty long. And then if you made this far, I do appreciate you. Go ahead and drop a like. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.